Okay, and the cost will the cost will be accumulated here, okay, until the process has finished. Okay, they will transfer to the next process, which is Department B. Okay, all costs will be transferred to Department B. Okay, jadi maksudnya the cost that being accumulated here is totaled once completed, finish, or once complete in this processing department, it will transfer to the next department. All costs will be transferred to B. Okay, and it will be debited. And in Department B, the Department B will also incur another 3 components here, cost and direct material, direct labor, and overhead. So meaning that in Department B, they will have their own direct material cost, they will incur their own direct material cost, direct labor cost, and overhead cost. And on top of that, they also have costs that being transferred from Department A, which we call it transferred in cost. Okay, we will see the production report later. So in the second department, they have another cost that where they receive the cost from the previous department, which is Department A. Okay, and they will have four items. Okay, 4 items where direct material, direct labor, overhead, and also transferred in cost from previous department. Okay, once completed here, then they will transfer to finished goods inventory. Okay, once sold, they will transfer to cost of goods sold. Okay, so I hope that is clear to you on the flow of costs. Okay, for one department and also 2 departments, before we go in detail on how we calculate the product cost using process costing under 2 different methods, weighted average method and also FIFO method. Okay. Okay, is there any questions so far?
No, miss.
Okay, thank you. All right, now we will look at the process costing in detail. Okay, so process costing separate costs into cost categories according to when costs are introduced into the process. Okay, so we have looked at the component of cost just now. For each department, or for each processing department, they will incur these 3 costs, and the direct materials and also the conversion costs. Conversion costs are consists of direct labor and also overhead costs. For the direct materials usually added at the beginning of the production process or at the start of work in a subsequent department down the assembly line. Okay, for example, I'll show you the diagram just now here. Yeah, for the 2 departments. Okay, for the 2 departments, okay, usually the process will start at the first department. Let's, for example, this one, Department A. So it will start at the first department, and this department will incur these 3 costs: direct labor and also conversion costs. Okay, and usually in the first department, usually direct material is added at the beginning. Okay, added at the beginning, because you need the direct material, then only we can start the process. Okay, and for the second department, it depends on the nature of the process of the second department. Sometimes the direct material is added at the beginning, and sometimes it is added at towards the end of the process. Towards the end of the process. So you need to be careful, or to be aware of when the direct material is added. Okay, in the production process. Is it being introduced in the beginning or at the end of the process? Because it will affect the calculations of our equivalent unit later. Okay, and the second component, the conversion costs, okay, are generally added equally along the production process. Okay, this is very important. The point here is very important. It is usually added equally, uniformly. evenly along the production process. Okay, so these are two assumptions usually we use under the process costing. Okay, now let's look at the process costing. I've been told that the reference book that you use is Hongren. Okay, the cost of accounting Hongren. So I tried to, I also use the PowerPoint slide using the Hongren's reference and Hongren's textbook. So in Hongren's, there are 3 cases that being discussed in the textbook. Okay, the first situation, the first scenario is no beginning or ending work in process inventory. The second one, no beginning work in process inventory, but they have some ending work in process inventory. And the third scenario, they have both beginning and also ending work in process inventory. Okay, in my slide here, in my lecture today, I will only focus on the third one because the third one is the most complicated scenario. Okay, the first and the second one is the more simple scenario. If you have the textbook, you can just read from the textbook. Okay. Okay, so these are the 5 steps that need to be followed in preparing the production report for processing department using the process costing. Okay, the 5 steps are summarize the flow of physical units. Okay, actually, I would like to I love to write on board during my lecture, tapi because this is online, so I don't have that tools to write. So it's very limited for me to explain on these steps. Okay, it's okay. The first one is to summarize the flow of physical units. Okay, physical units, and then the second one to compute the equivalent units. Nanti kita akan lihat or we'll discuss what is the equivalent units. And then the third one to summarize the total cost to account for. The fourth one to compute the cost per equivalent unit, and the last one is to assign total cost to unit completed and ending work in process. So these are the 5 steps that we will follow closely when we prepare the production report for each department. Okay, the first step. Okay, so actually this is the step to prepare the production report for the processing department. Okay, now for the first part, I will explain to you, I will discuss to you the production report for the first department. Okay, for the first department, and later we will discuss on the production report for the second department. Okay, so for the first department, it is quite easy compared to the second department. Okay, because the second department, as I explained to you just now, the second department will receive all costs from the first department first, then only they can process in their department, and they will incur their own costs in the department. Okay, then they will accumulate all costs, barulah. Okay, then only they can calculate the product cost for the completed product. Okay, but now kita akan tengok. Okay, we will see the first department. Okay, the first department first. Okay, the step 1 is to analyze the physical flow of units. Okay, usually the physical flow of unit will use this equation. Okay, we'll use this equation, these 4 items. Kalau you lihat di sini, we will have 4 items here. The physical units in beginning work in process inventory. Okay, units started, units completed and transferred out, and units in ending work in process. You need to be familiar with all these 4 items, okay, in this equation. Okay, the equations, the form of the equation is beginning work in process plus unit started okay, minus units completed equals units in ending work in process. Okay, actually, it is nothing new. Kalau you can look at this closely, actually, when we want to start the production, of course, we will check whether we have the beginning work in process inventory or not, meaning that the unit that's still not completed. Okay, so if we have that unit is not completed, then we will continue processing it in the period. Okay, and then we will add a new one, a new started units. We call it unit started. Can use new started during the period, during the months, Okay, and then these two will be processed during the month. Okay, and at the end of the month, okay, at the end of the month, the unit process here, the two types units process here will become either completed units or still not complete units, which we call it work in process. So if it becomes completed unit, so we call it units completed and transferred out. And if still not completed yet, okay, we put it in as in ending work in process. Okay, so these two related to each other, and these two is actually related to each other. And this one is actually the units that you want to process at the beginning. Okay, and these two is the results of the process at the end of the period. Okay, so at the beginning, we have the units in beginning inventory, beginning work in process inventory, and the unit that we started during the month, and then we will process at the end of it, it becomes completed units or still not complete, where it stay as ending work in process. So this is the equation. Okay, the next part is to compute or to calculate the equivalent unit. Okay, what is equivalent unit? Okay, in process costing, we don't use physical units as it is. Okay, we need to change it to equivalent unit. So the equivalent units are the product of the number of partially completed units and the percentage completion of those units. Okay, apa maksudnya? Meaning that I show you this equation, because at the end of the period, at the end of the month, we have either these two, whether it is totally completed product or it is still a part, maybe a few units is still not complete. Okay, it is stay as ending work in process. Okay, for the completed units, we don't have any problem with it, because the completed units, the equivalent for the completed units is equals the physical units completed. But for the ending work in process, because it is still halfly, or partly completed, so we need to know the percentage of completion of the partly completed product, the percentage of completion, and the physical units of still not completed units of this product. Jadi when we have these two information, the percentage of completions and the partially completed units, then we can calculate the equivalent units. Okay. We can use this glass of water as an analogy to calculate the equivalent units. Let's assume that we have two half-completed products. Two half-completed products are equivalent to one complete product. Okay, so let's use this glass of water. We have two glasses, and each glasses is filled with half cup, half full of water. Okay, half full of water for each two glasses. Okay, if we combine this together, okay, it equals to 1 unit of full cup of water. Okay, so this analogy can be used if we have two half completed products. Okay, and if we combine the resources that we already spent for this half completed product, actually to work for only one product, we have the two half completed products actually equal to one complete product. So that's why it is called equivalent unit. But in a real, it is actually not a completed product physically, but we just make it equal as a complete product, and that's why it is called equivalent unit. So equivalent unit is not always the same as physical unit, especially when we have partially completed products. Meaning that we have the work in process inventory units. Okay. Okay, now let's assume this one. Okay, this is a simple example where there's no beginning and some ending work in process example. Okay, in February 2017, Pacific places another 400 units of SG40. SG40 is the product. No beginning work in process inventory in February. Okay, only 175 units are completed and transferred to the testing department. Okay, they have only one department here in this case, testing department. So data for assembly department for February is as shown. Okay, now we have this one. Okay, so this we can show you. I can show you the two steps here. The first one is to calculate the physical units, and the second one is to compute the equivalent units. Yeah? So this is the part of the production report. So we start with step 1 and step 2. So step 1, to calculate the physical unit, we have the work in process, the beginning work in process units. Okay, where we have 0 here. Okay, work in process unit is 0. Okay, started during current period is 400 units. Okay, started during current period, 400 units. And when we add these two, okay, we sum up these two items, we got units to account for. We call it units to account for, which is 400. Okay, 400 units to account for. Okay, and next two items is completed, units completed and transferred out. Okay, units completed and transferred out is 175. Okay, this is given to you, the data given to you, 175. And the units stay in work in process, in ending work in process is 225. And when we sum up these two items, we got 400. Okay, and we call it units accounted for. So these two are different. One is units to account for, and this one is units accounted for. Okay, all these are physical units. Okay, and where does this come from? It actually comes from the equations that I've shown to you previously, this one. Okay, this one. Okay, wait a minute. All right. So this equation, if we rearrange the equation, I would like to write something here. If we rearrange the equation will look like this. Okay. Okay. We have the beginning work in process. Okay, I just put as BWIP is the beginning work in process. Okay, and we add the physical unit started. This one I call it unit started. Okay, units started. It will equals to units completed and transferred out. Okay, I just don't want to write it here. Okay, it is units completed. Once completed, we know that it will be transferred up to whether to the next department or to finished goods inventory. Okay, plus dengan ending work in process. Okay. This is the equations. If we rearrange the equations, it will look like this. Okay, beginning work in process plus unit started equals to units completed plus ending work in process. Okay, because if we rearrange this, it will the equation will look like this. Okay, so the first on the left side, beginning work in process plus unit started, this is actually the units that we are going to process in the beginning of the period, in the beginning of the month. For example, the period is for 1 month. So in the beginning of the month, so these are the units that we are going to process. We have the beginning work in process, so we will continue process in the month, and we also have the new units that we started during the month. So these are the units that we are going to process at the beginning. Okay, and when we process throughout the month, okay, at the end of the month, okay, the results from the process is either we have complete all units, the completed units, it becomes the units completed, or it is still incomplete where it stay as ending work in process. So we have units completed plus ending work in process. So this is the results at the end of the month. Okay, jadi the left side, the total of the left side should equals the total of the right side. Betul tak? Okay, the total of left side should equals to the total of right side, because they are actually the same unit. The same unit, cuma at the end of it they'll change the physical, they have changed, whether they become completed or they still incomplete. Okay, so from here then we will that's where this is derived from. We start with the yang tadilah yang saya show you just now, the equation. The first one is this one, the beginning work in process plus unit started is the unit that we want to process at the beginning. So we call it to account for. That's why the words to account for, that is the unit that we are going to account for. Okay, and then at the end of the month it becomes completed, yang ni tadi, and then it becomes still incomplete where we put it as ending work in process. So this is the results at the end of the month. So it is called accounted for. Counted for is the results of what we have processed from the beginning or throughout the month. Okay, so ini step yang pertama, step yang pertama where we analyze the physical units. Okay, step yang kedua, the second step is to calculate the equivalent units. Okay, to calculate the equivalent units here, the red box here. So we extend the table, okay, into the direct materials and conversion cost. Okay, direct material to the we extend it to the 3 components of manufacturing cost. Cumanya the direct labor and the overhead is combined together where we call it conversion cost. Okay, we can separate them. So if we separate the cost, we have 3 columns instead of 2 here, direct material and conversion cost. If we separate the conversion cost into direct labor and overhead, we will have 3 columns. But usually for the process costing, we combine the conversion cost because the reasons why the direct labor cost and the overhead costs are combined, because these 2 costs is actually the nature of the incurrence of the cost is actually the same. So they combine it together. So to simplify the report. Okay, now we go to the calculations of equivalent unit. Yeah? Okay, how we calculate the equivalent units? Okay, for the I think I already mentioned to you, for the completed units, we don't have problem with that, because the equivalent units for the completed units is the same. Okay, is the same because they complete, they don't have any issue, because the completed unit, if let's say we complete 100 units, means that the equivalent unit for the complete unit is 100. Okay, because they are 100% complete. Okay, the issues is when we have the units in ending work in process. Okay, ending work in process here, for example, we have 235. Kalau physical units here is 225. Okay, but 235 macam tadilah, if we use this analogy, but it is only halfly completed. Okay, partly completed. Dia kita proses dia for 225. We have 225 cups, but each cup is not fully filled with water. Some cup is only half full of water, some cups is maybe third quarter of water, and so on. Jadi for this we need to calculate the equivalent unit. But please, when we want to calculate the equivalent unit, we need to have information on the percentage of completion. Okay, if you look at the percentage here, this refers to the percentage of completion for both costs that we have here, for the direct material and for the conversion cost. Okay, as given in the illustration, okay, the direct material, okay, the degree of completion in this department, the direct material is 100% complete, and the conversion cost is 60% complete. Okay, so for the direct material, it is 100% complete. So we will calculate the equivalent unit, 100% times 225. So we got 225. Okay, because it is 100% complete. But for the conversion cost, because it is only 60% complete, so we will multiply 60% here with 225. So it is, we got 135 for conversion cost. So the equivalent for conversion cost is 135 units. Okay, and when we sum up these two, the completed units and the work in process unit, the equivalent, we got the total equivalent units for direct material 400, and for the conversion cost 310. Okay. Okay, if you have any question you would like me to explain, re-explain, please just let me know. Okay. Okay, so this is the equivalent unit. So we have done calculated the equivalent unit. Again, if the equivalent units, is being calculated because we have the work in process, ending work in process units here. If we don't have ending work in process unit, let's say the ending work in process is 0, so meaning that every unit's process has been completed. Okay, so the equivalent unit will equal to the physical units of completed products. Okay, I hope that it is clear to you. Okay, now we got this. This is the total equivalent unit for direct material and for conversions respectively. Okay, next is step 3. Step 3. Now, previously we have done step 1 and step 2. Okay, step 3 is to calculate the cost per equivalent units for direct material and also for conversion costs. Okay, so how are we going to do? We are going to do that is by multiplying. By dividing the total direct material cost by the total equivalent units. Okay, so the cost per equivalent unit for conversion cost is the total conversion cost divided by the total equivalent units. And under the weighted average method, the cost per equivalent unit is based on the total cost incurred, including the cost of beginning work in process. Okay, from these explanations, actually, it is very clear if we look at the table, look at the table here, the table that is prepared here to calculate the cost per equivalent unit. So now this table showing you step 3, 4, and 5. And step 3 is actually to calculate the total cost to account for. Okay, total cost to account for. Step 4 is to calculate cost per equivalent unit here. And step 5 is to assign costs to completed and transfer out and to work in process. Okay, let me show you the step 3 first. Yeah? Okay, step 3. Okay, step 3 is to calculate the total cost to account for. Okay, I go back to the previous table here in step 1 and 2. Okay, because I want to relate you with the physical units here, because this table, the whole table here, kalau you tengok sini, the whole table here is we analyze the units, okay, the units product, okay, the units, nothing to do with the cost. Kalau you tengok sini, okay, no dollar sign here. Okay, if in Malaysia we use RM, Ringgit Malaysia RM, okay, or no any dollar sign here, meaning that because this table only analyze the units. Okay, and the relations of the equation just now, the units just now, this one, the units to account for 400 here should be equal to units accounted for 400 here. Okay, in some question, okay, they will give you all these 4 items: the beginning work in process, started units, the completed units, the ending work in process. All these 4 items in order for you to calculate the units to account for and also the units to accounted for. But in some question, they can omit one of the items. They may omit one of the items. For example, they only give you the beginning work in process, the unit started, okay, and they give you the units completed. The question doesn't give you the units in ending work in process. Okay, for example, okay, they don't give you this unit, but okay, when you do the analysis, you still can find the units in ending work in process, because we know that the total of units to account for and the total of unit accounted for is the same, should be equal. So when it is equal, we can find the unknown figures that has not been given in the question. Okay. Okay, just study. This table is actually to analyze the units. Okay, now for the next table here. Okay, now you see the sign dollar, the dollar sign. Okay, because this table now we want to analyze the cost. Okay, tadi we analyze the units. Now this table is to analyze the cost. Okay, so when we analyze the cost, so you can see the dollar sign here. Okay, all right. Okay, saya nak tunjukkan, I want to show you what is the relation between the previous table and this table. Okay, in this table tadi, you know that this is the cost. Okay, the previous table here ni adalah units. Okay, they are actually related. Related. Di mana dia punya relation dia adalah this one, ya, to account for dengan accounted for ni. Okay, you know that to account for is the beginning units plus started. Okay, so same goes to cost analysis. Yeah, when we analyze the cost, when we want to calculate the cost to account for, so it is actually the cost from the beginning work in process plus the cost added or the cost for the started unit during the months. Okay, so as shown here, it is only the item appear here only cost added during February. Okay, and it doesn't include or it doesn't show you the cost from the beginning work in process. Why? Okay, because work in process is 0 here. The units for the work in process is 0. So the cost that associated with the units also should be 0, should also be 0. Okay, because the units is 0. That's why when we analyze the cost, there is no, it is not show you, it doesn't show you the beginning work in process punya cost. Okay, it only show you the cost added during February. Okay, actually the accurate way of calculation the total cost to account for ni, actually we need to also show the cost for the beginning work in process. Patutnya lah, I would prefer that way, because even it is 0, we just put it 0 actually. That is to be clear for you to understand, to relate this table with the previous table. Okay, so once we got this one, total cost to account for direct material and conversion. So the next step is to calculate the cost per equivalent unit. So the total cost here, we will divide with the equivalent unit that we calculate in step 2. Okay, for example, direct material 32,000 total cost. Okay, and we divide 400. 400 ni comes from the equivalent unit for direct material here that we calculate in step 2. Okay, divide by 400. Okay, same goes to conversion. Okay, 18,600 divided by 310, the equivalent unit that we calculate in step 2. So we got the cost per equivalent unit, 80 for direct materials and 60 for conversion cost. Okay. So inilah dia yang dikatakan sebagai product cost unit product cost. Okay, untuk produk ini, unit product cost. Okay, 80. So kalau if we total these two, the unit product cost is actually 80 plus 60 is 140. Okay, 140. 140. Okay, 140, this one, if you want to put it in total here. So it is 140 where 80 plus 60. Okay, all right, this is the product cost, unit product cost. Okay, once we got this, we haven't finished here. We need the last step is to assign cost to the two units, the completed and transferred out units, and the work in process, the ending work in process units. Okay, where do we get this one, 175 and 225, from the table, the previous table that we analyzed units just now. Okay, yang ini. Iaitu kan ini, mula kita ada this one, this first part is the units that we want to work with during the beginning of the month, and the last two parts here is the results. Okay, at the end of the month, apa result dia? Ada yang completed units, ada yang masih belum siap, stay as ending work in process. So the completed units adalah, okay, kita akan refer pada the equivalent units here. So the completed units, direct material 175, conversion also 175, but for work in process, okay, work in process to the direct material unit dia is 235, and for the conversion is 135. Ini dalam unit. Okay, so bagaimana kita nak tahu berapakah cost for all these units? Itulah step 5 yang kita akan buat, where we assign cost to these units that we have identified. Okay, so the last step is to assign cost. Macam mana nak assign? We already have the cost per equivalent for direct material and conversion just now. So we just multiply with the units. Okay, for example, direct material, okay, 175 here for the completed and transfer out here. Untuk direct material, the unit is 175. Okay, and we multiply with 80. Okay, And then for conversion cost, maksudnya kita kena refer balik. We need to refer back to this table. Okay, yang ni tadi direct material tadi 175. Okay, conversion 175. But that is in unit. So nak tahu cost dia, kita multiply lah dengan cost per equivalent unit dia masing-masing kat sini. Okay, and then for work in process pula, yang ni work in process, we have 2 to 5 units, physical unit. But for direct material, the units is 2 to 5. Conversions is 135. That is in unit. So to know the cost, so we multiply with the cost per equivalent unit respectively. Okay, 80 for direct materials and 60 for conversion cost. So tengok balik yang ni, this is the equivalent units that we calculate in step 2 that I've shown to you in the table just now. Okay, and once we got this, okay, we add these two, okay, the direct materials and the conversion, the total. We got the total here, the total for both, untuk completed and transfer out 24,500, and for ending work in process 26,100. And if we total these two items, completed and ending work in process, we got 50,600, and we call it total cost accounted for. Okay, yang tadi atasnya adalah total cost to account for 50,600, and the cost should also be the same, should also equals, should be the same. Dia sama konsep dia macam kita analyze units tadi lah, di mana units to account for 400 should also equals to unit accounted for 400. Okay. All right. So we have finished. Actually the calculations, all the 5 steps. Okay, and this part is actually the journal entries. Usually in my lecture, I don't always explain on the journal entries, because the journal entries actually, once you have go through the chart or the costing, the journal entry will be the same. Okay, the difference is only at this part, number 1, number 2. Okay, because number 1 here, okay, first when we involve all the manufacturing costs, the direct material, direct labor, and overhead costs, we will debit all the costs in the work in process inventory account, okay, in assembly department, and then credit all the accounts payable control. Okay, so the cost will be accumulated in one account here. We call it work in process. Okay, once completed here, okay, if the company have more than one processing department, so we will not transfer it to finished goods, because the product is still not yet finished, not yet completed. It's only completed in the first process, department. Okay, only completed in the first processing department. So we will transfer it to the next processing department. So yang inilah the catatan number 3, the journal entries for number 3, where we need to credit, because we want to transfer to the next department. So we have finished in this assembly department, we credit it, the numbers. Okay, we credit from the assembly department, and we will put it in debit side on the work in process testing department, the next department. And the testing department will continue in their department to process the product until it becomes finished goods. Then only we will transfer to finished goods account. Okay. Okay, this is the flow using the figures. Okay, kalau tadi kita tengok, kita sudah lihat, okay, the flow of course, but only the arrow without the figures. Okay, kalau with the figures, some students more clear, easy to understand when they use figures. Okay, okay, contohnya tadi is account payable control. Here is actually to record the purchase of the raw materials and so on. Maksudnya once we used this is the raw materials, and this is the conversion cost. Okay, we combine it, the cost is accumulated in the debit side of work in process assembly account, say, and it is processed. Once the process is completed in the assembly department, so it will be credited and it will go to the next department, which is testing, but also in work in process, in testing department. Okay, and inilah cost yang dia transfer masuk dalam testing department ni kita panggil transferred in cost. Okay, transferred in cost. And in this, and the testing department will process, okay, the product, and it also involve their own materials cost, their own direct labor, and also conversion cost, and the overhead cost. So they will accumulate their costs here, yeah, on top of the transfer in cost received from the assembly department. And then they will, once completed, if there is no other processing department, so they become finished goods. So they will debit at the finished goods account. Okay, and once so, it will credit from the finished goods and go to cost of goods sold. Okay. Okay, just now, as I explained to you just now, actually, I indirectly, I already explained to you the weighted average method. Okay, weighted average method where it average out all the costs incurred with the equivalent units that we calculated. So we have two methods in process costing. We have weighted average methods and FIFO method. Okay, first in, first out method. Okay, and for the weighted average method, okay, it's calculate the cost per equivalent units of all work done to date, regardless of the accounting period in which it was done. Okay, ini adalah the keywords to differentiate between the weighted average and FIFO method. Okay, because FIFO method will calculate cost per equivalent unit of all work done to date. Means that all work done to date means that the works that bring forward from the beginning work in process and the works which is started during the months. Okay, and they will calculate the cost per equivalent unit for these both jobs and for both works, both units. Okay, but for FIFO, we will work it differently. Okay, FIFO method, the cost per equivalent unit will only be calculated for the current period units works. So please try to differentiate how we calculate the cost per equivalent unit. But as for now, seperti yang kita telah bincang, discussed just now, the example that we have looked before, actually we use the weighted average method. The weighted average method, if I show to you this one, where we calculate the cost per equivalent unit here. Okay, so it takes the cost from that is being added during the February, okay, and also cost from the beginning work in process. But in this case, we don't have the cost from the beginning work in process because the units in beginning work in process is 0. Okay, so we don't have, the cost is 0 actually. Okay, so this actually is weighted average method. Okay, I just skip this slide because I want to straightforward explain to you in the example that we will go through after this. Okay, this is the example that we are going to use. The example here is actually about the same as the example that I have explained to you just now. It's just that the difference is just that in this example we have the beginning work in process units. Okay, kalau tadi the beginning work in process unit is 0, but now there is some figures for the beginning work in process. Okay, so we use this the informations given at the beginning of March. Pacific had 235 partially assembled ST40. Okay, 235 partially assembled. That means this one is the units in beginning work in process. Okay, this company has 225 units in the assembly department, and it started productions of another 275. So this is unit started during March. Okay, 225 ni adalah the beginning work in process carried from February. Okay, and it will continue process in March. So this is beginning work in process. And 275 is the new units started during March. Okay, this one we call it unit started during March. So data for assembly department for March 2017 are as follow. So you are given this information. Okay, so this information, step 1, the physical units, we have the work in process, the beginning work in process 225 tadi. Okay, and started during current period 275 from the information given here, 225 plus 275. So we can calculate units to account for 500. So we got units to account for 500, and then units completed and transferred out during current period is 400. Okay, this one is given in the textbook. If you read the scenario, full scenario of the illustration of the examples, you can take out the completed units and transfer out is 400. Okay, and the work in process, the ending work in process is 100. Okay, so when we total up these two, we got 500, and we know that 500 here should be the same as 500 up here, the units to account for. Okay, both should be the same. Okay, kalau tak sama, maksudnya something wrong somewhere. Okay, we need to have the same figures here. Okay. So we complete step 1. Step 2 is to calculate the equivalent unit. Okay, equivalent unit line by line, iaitu yang kita akan kira the equivalent unit only for the results, for the end result, which it becomes the completed and transfer out and in ending work in process. Yang 406, 100. Okay, completed and transfer out because it is 100% complete. So we multiply with 100%, so 400 lah. We also have 400 here for direct material and conversion. Okay, and for ending, the conversion cost for the percentage of completion for conversion cost is 50%. Yeah, maklumat tambahan dia, additional information, and the percentage of completion of direct material is 100%. So 100% kalau kita darab, kita multiply with 100 sini untuk direct material. Okay, 100% complete. So 100% darab 100, we got 100%. Okay, and for conversion cost, we multiply the percentage of completion 50% with the units 100, we got 50 here for the conversion cost. Okay, and we sum up these two items. We got 500, the total equivalent units for direct material, and 450, the total equivalent units for conversion cost. Okay, and next, okay, we'll calculate the cost per equivalent unit, but before that cost, we calculate the total cost to account for. Okay, this one, all this actually is given to you. Okay, the maklumat, the information. Okay, the direct material is 18,000 for beginning work in process. Okay, nampak sini maksudnya this time around we have the cost for beginning work in process. Okay, our example, the first example that I've shown to you, we don't show this line because the beginning work in process is 0. Okay, the units is 0, so the cost should be also 0. But this time we have the units in beginning inventory, which is 225. So there must be a cost that associated with the beginning work in process inventory. So which we got 18,000 for direct material, conversion 8,100. Okay, and then cost added during the period, okay, 36,000 in total. Okay, 19,800 for direct material and 16,380 for conversion cost. Okay, and then we multiply these two, we got the total cost to account for. Okay, the next step is to calculate the cost per equivalent unit. So we divide with the equivalent unit that we have calculated in step 2. Okay, well, for direct material, we divide with 500. For commercial cost, we divide with 450. Okay, we got this. Yeah? Last step is to assign cost to completed units dengan ending work in process. Okay, so where the units are, we take it from the table that we calculate here kat sini. This part. This is the units that we need to refer to when we assign cost to completed unit 1 and to work in process, the ending work in process 2. Okay, so where should we refer to? We should refer to in the calculations of equivalent unit. For example, direct material, okay, for completed and transfer out, the units is 400. Okay, and for work in process, for the direct material, the units is 100. So when we assign the cost in tadi, 400 untuk completed units and 100 for ending, and we multiply with the unit cost, a unit per equivalent cost, respectively. For the direct material, 75.60 cents. So we got everything here and we total up. We got this one. Total for completed and transfer out 52,000. And for work in process, ending work in process is 10,280. Okay, and when we total these two items, we got 60,280. This is cost accounted for. And again, the cost should be the same as cost up here, the total cost to account for. Okay, I need to be very fast because we want to cover the second method, FIFO, and then want to cover to the second department after this. Okay, okay, now, is there any question you want to ask regarding the weighted average before I move to the second method, the FIFO method, which is more complicated? Okay, sudah tengah hari, mesti mata pun mengantuk. You can stretch. What stretching badan you? Do some exercise so that to loosen up you punya muscle. Jadi boleh relax sikit. Alright. Okay. Silent means no question. So no question means you are in the situation where you understand the content that I've presented. I hope so. Inshallah. Okay. I think, yeah, Rahmi.
Yes.
Yeah. I just want to make sure. So the completion rate is based on how much product is done.
The percentage of completion. Do you mean that?
Based on how much product is done, or how?
Okay, this one, okay, I'll show you this one. Okay, the percentage of completion here, okay, we cannot, you yourself cannot determine it. It is always given in the question. Okay, the percentage of completion here is given in the question, meaning that you cannot tell or you cannot just assume what is the percentage of completion for both the direct material and conversion, especially for the conversion. And for the conversion, the percentage of completion is given, it should be given, because recall back what I mentioned to you earlier, the assumption that we use that the conversion cost is occur evenly or uniformly throughout the processes. Okay, let's, for example, we have this timeline. Contohnya, I draw you the timeline here. This is the beginning, 0 at 0%. Okay, this is the process. Let's assume that the process here, this is the beginning of the process and this is the ending of the process. So the beginning of the process should be 0% lah, maksudnya kan, because we don't start anything yet. So it is 0% complete. So once the process reach here, it is 100% complete. Okay, just to understand the percentage of completion here. Okay, the problem is the work in process. We know that the work in process is incompleted units. So it might stop here. It might stop here or anywhere between 0 to 100% complete here. Okay, let's say it stop here where it is about, for example, it is about 40% complete. Okay, this one is 40. I want to write 40 actually, but it is very hard to write using the mouse. Okay, let's say this is 40%, at 40%. So let's say the process at the end of the month, the process stop here at 40% complete. Okay, 40% complete. So when the process is 40% complete here, automatically we know that the conversion cost has been added 40%. Okay, 40% of conversion cost has been incurred. Why I said that? Because the assumption that we used earlier, where the conversion costs occur uniformly throughout the process. Bermaksud sekiranya proses itu telah berlaku 40%, maksudnya conversion cost juga telah dilibatkan sebanyak 40%. Okay, if the process has been if the process has gone through 40%, meaning that the conversion cost also has being incurred by 40%. That is for the conversion cost only, because assumption that we use, it is occurred uniformly throughout the process. Okay, but different treatment for the direct materials. Okay, direct materials ni, we need to know when the direct materials is added in the process. Okay, for example, because this is the first department, usually the direct material is added at the beginning. So how could we know it is added at the beginning or at the ending or at the middle of the process? The question should tell you, or you can have it somewhere from the question. There is always a hint or a statement showing that when the direct material is added. Okay, for example here, if you read the textbook, the full scenario in the textbook, the direct material is added at the beginning, meaning that here. Okay, if I draw the line here, it is this is direct material. Okay. Okay, direct material is added here. Okay, can you see my drawing here? I hope so. So direct material is added here just before the processing start. Okay, it is added here. So when the processing is about to start, the direct material is added and it is processed and it stopped, and the processing stopped here. Actually not the processing stop there. Actually we reach at the end of the month. So usually at the end of the month we need to do a report for the production report. So maksudnya at the end of the month, when the process is at 40%, at level of 40% complete, so the direct material, okay, the direct material, we have the direct material and the conversion cost. Okay, so the direct material and the conversion cost here. So I need to write here the direct material and also conversion cost. So bila dia stop di sini, at this point we have the direct material cost and we also have the conversion cost accumulated here. Okay, the problem is the direct material that that the cost of direct material that being accumulated here is considered 100% complete because all direct material has been added here in the beginning. So it will carry all the costs until here. So the direct material cost here is considered as 100% complete. Okay, so that is the how we determine the percentage of completion for direct material, 100% complete. Okay,
Yeah.
and for the conversion cost is 40%. Yes. Do you have any question just now?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, I understand.
Okay, so this is how we determine the percentage of completion, and the percentage of completions here we will be used to calculate the equivalent units. We will multiply with the physical units, okay, for each of the items respectively. Okay, this is how we determine. Okay, for example, let's assume now. Let's say the direct material is added at the end. Let's say I move this direct material to the end of the process. It is not added there in the beginning, but now it is added at the end of the process. So what happens if it is added at the end of the process? At the end doesn't mean that the process is already complete. It's when the process is about to complete, then the direct material is added. Ada dalam case where the direct material is added at the ending of the process. For example, maybe for the bottling department, for example, at the end of the process, so the bottle itself is the direct material. In the bottling department, it is added maybe at the 90%, when the process reach 90% complete. Okay, let's say this direct material is said added at the end of the process. Okay, when it is at the end of the process, when we reach at the end of the month, and at the end of the month, the process is only 40% complete. Okay, 40% complete here. Okay, so direct material here is the percentage of direct material here is 0%, because at 40% level here, the direct material is not yet added. Okay, because it is only added here. So when the process stop here, there is no direct material at this point. Okay, so the direct material is 0% complete. We said that the direct material is 0% complete. The conversion cost is still the same, 40% complete. Okay, you got. I hope that you got what I'm trying to explain. So that is the case where if the direct material is added at the end of the process. But now, because in our example, the direct material is added here, so meaning that when the process stop at the ending process here 50%, kat sini 50%, maksudnya kalau sini 50%, the direct material is already there, is already added. So the cost, the percentage of completion for direct material is 100%. Okay?
Yeah, I understand, Miss. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, now tadi we already finished that. Okay, so this is the summary of cost allocation for weighted average method that we have prepared here tadi. Okay, this one. Okay, as you can see, the left side is cost to account for. We relate back with the table that we have prepared before, and the right side here is the total cost accounted for, and the total should be the same because they are from the same the same cost actually. The same basic of cost, and they just transfer it to the different units. At the end, the results it becomes completed and ending work in process. So all these costs that we process in the beginning will be transferred to completed, 52,480 the total, and part of it as ending work in process, which is 9,800, and the total should be 62,000. Okay. Okay, now we look at sorry, that is 5.4, so I just skip. Sorry, Okay, just let we go back to the last slide that I stopped just now. Yang ni tadilah the last type ni ya. Okay, and then the journal entries. Okay, and this one I already explained to you. Now this is the FIFO method. Okay, for the FIFO method, I should stop. Sorry, the organizer. At what time should I stop the lecture? Because I just want to manage my time. Now it's 3 already. We finish at 3:30 our session, right?
You can explain for 10 minutes later.
10 minutes? 10 minutes? Oh my God. Okay. Okay, now in the first in, first out method, FIFO method, we assign the cost to the previous accounting period's equivalent unit in beginning work in process inventory to the first unit completed and transferred out. Okay, I don't want to refer to this slide because you can read. We just go to the example here, and I will show you the difference between the weighted average method and the FIFO method. Okay. Okay, number one, the physical units, the physical unit analysis. Okay, this is FIFO method. Yeah, so you need to tune your mind from the weighted average to FIFO method. Okay, so the first part is still the same. Okay, still the same here. Work in process, beginning work in process plus started. Okay, we got 500. Okay, units to account for, and we should know that the units accounted for is also 500. Okay, but if you see here, it still have two. Maksudnya at the end of it becomes completed. Yeah, completed units, and it becomes not completed where it stay as ending work in process. Okay, yeah, these two items. But for the completed unit, okay, we break it down into these two items. These two items where the first one we call it from beginning work in process. Okay, from beginning work in process, and the second one started and completed. Okay, started and completed sini. Okay, I would like to remind you the started and completed there is not the same as above here. Yang ini dia tak sama. Tapi dia part of it. Started and completed here is not the same as started during the current period, but it is part of the started during the current period. Okay. Now, untuk yang bawah ni, we will work out on the work in process, ending work in process dulu. Okay, because ending work in process 100, so we just put it 100 here. Okay, so 500 minus 100. We got 400, and we know that that 400 is completed and transferred out, right? Okay, as weighted average yang kita buat sebelum ni. This one lah, 400 is for the completed and transferred out. But when we use FIFO method, we need to break it down. Okay, break it down into two parts, where the first part, the yang 400 itu, the 400 is actually comes from the beginning work in process unit, the 2 to 5 year. Okay, I go slowly in my explanation. The 2 to 5 year, okay, from the beginning work in process, 2 to 5. So 400 minus 2 to 5, we got 175. 175 year is the unit that started and completed during the months. Okay, unit started and completed during the month. So where does this 175 ni tadi? Actually, is part of this 275. Started during current period. It is part of this 275. If we deduct 175 from 1275 here, we got it 100, right? The 100. The 100 there is actually yang still not completed, where it is stay as ending work in process. 100 ini. Okay, I hope that you can get me what I'm trying to explain to you. So untuk FIFO method, we start with the ending work in process 100 year, and then we have the balance 400 too. We break it down. Okay, 400 that 400 is actually one is from the beginning work in process 225. That's why we call it from the beginning work in process is 225, and the balance from the 400 minus 225 is the unit started and completed 175. Okay, this we have completed analyze the physical unit, and then we calculate the equivalent units. So the equivalent units, okay, we go line by line for the beginning work in process. Okay, because this is FIFO method, the equivalent unit that we calculate here, kalau you tengok tajuk dia, if you look at the title of the last row here, equivalent units of work done in current period. That is the keyword, in current period. Meaning that the equivalent units that we calculate here is the units that we process in the current period. So this is in March, meaning that that we process in March. Okay, so what are the units that we process in March? Okay, when we start the process in the beginning of March, we bring forward the units that is not complete during February, which is 225, which becomes the beginning work in process, the 225. So that means the 225 we need to process during March and to make it complete, because this is first in, first out, meaning that the first units that comes in will be the first unit that goes out. The first in will be will first go out. That means that is the unit that will be completed first. Jadi mana unit yang first masuk? Of course, from the beginning work in process, the 225. So this unit will be completed first. Okay, because the concept of first in, first out. Okay, jadinya this unit, the units that we will process during March is from the beginning work in process. Okay, so the calculations here, if you see here, for the direct material, because direct material is added at the beginning. So when it is added at the beginning, the percentage of completions is 100. Yeah, 100%, as I explained to you just now, okay, 100%. That 100% has been incurred during February, because this is, recall back, this is we carry from the February, and we continue work it out in March. Okay, and that 100% for the direct material has been added during February. So that is not considered as the units that we work out during current month. So the unit that we work out during current month is 0. Because the direct material has already been added in February. So that's why it is 0. Okay, and for the conversion unit, okay, conversion unit, the percentage of completion is 60%. Okay, that 60% for the beginning, for the beginning. So that is from the beginning inventory, beginning finished goods, beginning work in process inventory, which we work during February, and we continue the process during March. So the 60% is already done in February. So the percentage that we need to carry on for the March is the different, the balance, which is 40%. That's why 100 minus 60. The 40% is the work done for the beginning work in process during March. Okay, so it is 90. So we multiply with the units, we got 90 for the conversion cost. Okay, so and started and completed, tak ada masalah, because it is 100% complete for both. And then for work in process ni is totally the units that is started during the month, during March. It's not the units that we carry from the beginning work in process. It is really started during March. Macam mana kita tahu it started in March? Yang macam saya explain tadi, we know that yang completed is 400 just now, but yang we complete from the beginning work in process is 225. Okay, 225. So yang started, yang tadilah yang we mentioned that we have 100 better. Okay, yang this one started and completed during the period is 275. Okay, and then yang started during and started and completed is 175. Sorry, yang started during the period is 275. The balance is 100 becomes the work in process, where we start the work actually during March. So during March, the equivalent units for current period during March macam sama juga macam kita kira before this dalam weighted average. So we got this one. So when we total here, we got the equivalent untuk current period. Okay, and okay, when we finish calculate the equivalent units, another difference for FIFO method is this. Okay, is this one where when we want to calculate the cost per equivalent unit, okay, we calculate the cost to account for. Okay, to calculate the cost to account for both. Okay, we got this one, 37, and the total is at 62,280. But when it comes to calculations of cost per equivalent unit, okay, we only take the current month cost added in current period, which is kat sini kalau direct material 19,800. Okay, for conversion cost 16,380. Okay, and we will divide with the equivalent unit for the current period. Kalau you realize here, if you realize here, the current cost divided by the current equivalent unit, current period equivalent units. Okay, for the FIFO methods. We don't include the cost from the beginning work in process because the beginning work in process is the cost from the previous period. In this case, from February. Current period is March. So when we calculate the cost per equivalent unit, we need to take all the cost from March, bahagikan or divide by the equivalent units in March only. Okay, and we got this cost per unit respectively. Okay, when we want to assign cost, next step is to assign cost to these two units, completed units dengan work in process and the work in process. Okay, so we need to refer back to the table of units that we analyzed before. Yang inilah, yang ini, this one, this unit. Okay, we will refer to this back. And for us to so that it is easy for us to assign cost. Jadi kalau kita tengok one by one, completed and transfer out first from the beginning work in process. Okay, beginning work in process yang ini 26,100 ini 26,100 comes from the beginning work in process that has been worked in February. Okay, yang ini 26 ini. This one is the work in process cost that has been worked in February. So we put it here, and then the cost to complete, to continue process the beginning work in process to make it a completed product. So this is the cost that we incurred during the current period, 4690 ni. We calculate here, inilah yang kita refer balik pada units that we calculate in the previous table. Yang ni, kalau you tengok sini, 0 for direct material, 90 for conversion cost, we take it from here. 0 direct material, 90 for conversion cost, and we multiply with the cost per equivalent unit masing-masing. Okay, and for the started and completed, same as completed, started and completed, also the unit is 175 for both. Okay, multiply with the cost per equivalent units respectively. And then last kali to the work in process and to the work and the work in process. Okay, and the units is 100 for that material, 50 for conversion, so 150. Okay, so we got this one, we total up, and we got the items. We total the items for total completed and ending work in process. So we got the cost accounted for. Okay, and the cost accounted for should be the same as above here, total cost to account for. Okay. All right, so managed to finish until FIFO method. Actually, we have transferred in sikit lah. Maksud transfer ini saya just tunjukkan di mana perbezaannya lah. So transfer in is the production report for the second department. Okay, tadi we just we have seen the production report for the first department. Okay, for the department, and then if the company have the second processing department, so it will go to the next department. The processing is not completed yet, and the product is not completed yet. It's only complete at the first processing department, and it will transfer to the second department, and it will be processed at the second department. Then only it becomes the completed product and will be transferred to finished goods. Okay, for the second department, okay. Okay, I will show you only the weighted average method. That's easier, and I think you need to study on the FIFO method. Okay, so if you can see here, the different this is the information given to you in the second department. The second department here is the department here. This one. Okay, as the assembly process is completed, and then it will transfer to testing. Okay, the second department is testing department. Okay, conversion costs are added evenly during the testing. This is kind of information given to you yang saya katakan dia need to mention the conversion cost is occurred or added evenly during the testing, and at the end of the testing process, the units receive additional direct material. Okay, in this department, testing department, the direct material is added at the end of the process, including crating and other packing materials. Okay, as units are completed in testing, they are immediately transferred to finished good. Okay, from this, these are the informations given to you, and from these informations, we prepare the production report for the testing department. Okay, sama juga step dia, need 5 steps there. First, we analyze the physical units. I think I don't have to explain to you again, but the relation, I need to highlight how the first department relate with the second department. Okay, the units that we carry from the first department. Okay, first department tadi adalah apa? What is the first department just now? Okay, the first department. So the units that we carry from the first department to the second department is the units transferred in. Is the unit transferred in during March, 400 here. Okay, the 400 here is the unit that we receive, that the testing department received from the previous department. The 400 unit transferred in during March. This is 400. Okay, 400 here. Okay, we can check back with the calculations that we kira previously here. Okay, the 400 unit dia mestilah sama dengan completed and transfer out. Apa maksud completed and transfer out? Because it has been completed in the first department, so maksud it should be transferred out to the second department. 400 unit here. So the 400 unit ni received by who? By which department? By second department, yang tadilah testing department. So the testing department should receive 400. Transfer in 400 here. Okay. Jadi bila kita prepare the physical units here, the beginning work in process 240, semua ni daripada maklumat yang diberi from the given informations. Transfer in during current period 400, and the units that I explained to you just now. Okay, we got to account for 640, and then completed and transfer out 440, work in and the process 200, we got 640. So again, the total should be the same. Okay, next to calculate the equivalent unit. The equivalent unit, again, when we calculate the equivalent unit, we need to know the percentage of completion for each of these. Transfer in, direct material, conversion cost. And if you can see here, we add one more column here where we call it transferred in cost. Okay, this is in the case for second department only. First department tak ada tadi kan. Okay, now the second department, kita add another one, we call it transferred in cost. Apa maksud dia? What does this mean? And transferred in cost means that all the costs that we receive from the previous department. Kan? From the previous department received by the second department. So dia accumulate semua cost tadi dan dipanggil sebagai transferred in cost. And on top of that, the testing department will also incur its own direct material and conversion cost. So we need these two columns is still maintained. Okay, cuma akan tambah lagi satu column because this column is received from the previous department. Okay, and then when we calculate here, the equivalent unit, again, we need to know the percentage of completion of each of these. Okay, transfer in. Transfer in, always remember, untuk transfer in, the percentage of completion always 100%. Okay, because it is added at the beginning, so all cost is added at the beginning, it is 100% complete. Everything has been added, so it is considered completed for the transfer in. For the direct material depends, tapi dari from the scenario, it has mentioned that the direct material is added at the end of the process. At the end of the process, the unit receive additional direct material. That means the direct material is added at the end. So be careful when at the end, when we want to calculate the we need to know whether it is 100% complete or 0% complete. Okay, and for the conversion cost, it occurs uniformly. So untuk transfer in, it is 100%. Untuk yang ini, line ni semua 100% lah. No issue. Selalunya dekat work in process. Kat work in process, we know that for transfer in, it is 100% complete. So 100%, 200. And for direct materials, okay, direct material in this case, it is 0. Because the process stop at 80%. Macam mana kita tahu cost process stop at 80%? We refer to the conversion cost. Because conversion cost tadi berlaku sama rata dengan proses. Okay, it is occurred uniformly. So bila the conversion cost, the process is 80%, 80%, stop at here, 80%, and then we need to ask, at this level, is direct material being added or not? Is already added or not? Okay, because the direct material is added at the end, means that at 80%, the direct material is still is not added yet. Okay, bila it's not added yet, it is 0%. That's why 0% for direct material, darab dengan multiply with 200 for direct material. So 0. And for the conversion cost, it is 80% multiply with 200. So 160. Okay, and we added, we total up, so we got the equivalent unit for each of the cost. Then this one, and the process, the calculation continues, same as what we have seen before. Maksudnya, then we need to calculate the total cost to account for, because this is direct method, so we need to include the cost from the beginning work in process also. Okay, and then we got this total, and this total will be divided by the equivalent unit that we have calculated in step 2. So we got the cost per equivalent unit for each of the cost. Okay, and then last part is to assign cost to completed and transfer out and the work in process. So for each unit, we will multiply with the cost per equivalent unit. So where does this unit come from? Again, we need to refer back to the previous table that we prepared just now. This one. Okay, inilah this part. This part. We got the calculations of equivalent units. So for completed and transfer out, okay, all is 440, and for work in process 200, 0, 160. So when we assign the cost, the work in process 200, 0, and 160 similarly. Okay, 200, 0, 160, and we multiply with its own cost per equivalent unit. Okay, and we total out everything here, so we got the total cost accounted for same as the total cost to account for. Okay, and you do the same lah as yang ini tunjuk ni hanya untuk 54 this one. This is for 54. Okay, yang ini for weighted average. So 54, I think because the slide is there, you can study on your own. Okay, because we don't have much time. In fact, now is on my computer, the time shows 3:28 already, I think. And I leave you a question here for you to try to doing it. I think I have enough time to cover this, but I'm so sorry because we running out of time, so we don't have much time, and don't have enough time pun untuk discuss on this in-class exercise. So I just leave you this one, and you can try it. And if you would like to have the solution, I will give the to you later, inshallah. Okay, so give the session back to the organizer.
All right, thank you, Miss, for the materials. All right, everyone, now we are turning into the next agenda, which is Q&A session. Okay, does everyone want to ask the questions? Please raise your hand.
Yeah, Hana Afifa.
Hana Afifa,
Yeah.
the questions.
Okay, thank you. I will ask for what are the characteristics of a company that is suitable for using a process costing accumulation system? And there are several types of product process in several different departments. Reported per product or reported per department.
Okay.
This is most of my questions.
Actually, I didn't get your second question. The first question, I respond to your first question first. Okay, what are the criterion for the company that's suitable to use process costing? Actually, we have the criteria in the beginning. I've mentioned to you in the beginning, actually, this one. Okay, the company that suitable to use process costing is the company that has a mass production and in the mass production, at the end of the production, the product is identical. Okay, for example, like the productions of cooking oil in the bottle, the drinks, bottle drinks, where they go through the same process, and they go through the same process in the different department. Okay, they need to go through the process. Let's, for example, they have two processes. They need to go to the first process, and then after completing the first process, they go to the second process, and the process are identical for each product. Okay, each product, and at the end of it, they becomes the same product. That means if we take up one unit of product with another unit of product, in 1 hour later, the two units of product are identical, are the same. And we cannot differentiate it. That means at the end of it, let's say we produce 5 kgs of bottle cooking oil. Okay, and after 1 hour, the the product is still the same. The 1 unit of 5 kgs bottle cooking oil. Okay, that is the criteria for the company to use sorry, process costing. Okay, but for the job order costing, the company that produce distinct product for each order. Okay, for example, the construction company, for the construction, the house, let's for example, the construction company that build house. Okay, the customer A, Ali, let's say Ali go to the company and ask to build a house with different design, and the second customer B, let's say B, also go to the same company and ask to build her house with the different design. So these two, let's say in 1 month the company received 2 orders from 2 different customer, and these 2 different customer asked to build different house with different design. Okay, jadi that is the criteria for the company to use the job order costing, because each time they produce a product, the product will be different. So it is a distinct and identify unit of product of service. Maksudnya distinct, it is different from one unit to another units. Okay, your second question just now.
Okay, does anyone still have questions? Please raise your hand. Does any one of you have a questions?
Okay, seems like nobody has question.
Okay, because there were no more questions, I will end the Q&A session.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, Miss. Thank you for Miss Kasumalinda Alwi for the attractive material. Hopefully, it can help the audience to have a better understanding of cost accounting. Now we are turning into the last agenda, which is closing. As the master of ceremony, I do apologize for any mistake during this event. Finally, I say thank you. Before leaving this event, please everyone turn on your camera because we want to take a picture together. I would like to inform you guys to all turn on your camera. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. Once again, 1, 2, 3. Once more. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Thank you for joining this event and see you for the next event. I'm sorry for the limited time, Miss.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you everyone.
Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Thank you, Miss.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Miss.
Thank you, Miss.